Welcome to a brand new episode of the Post Game. I'm your host, Davion, and I'm joined by Lillian
What's up?
and Emmett.
What's going on?
And today we are back in the Let's Talk NBA series talking about the Portland Trailblazers. Now, Portland, they have a very, very interesting offseason ahead of them with like a month and a half left. And they've had a really crazy offseason as well, picking up Scoot Henderson, Dame putting in a trade. Um, and them just having a really young team looking to add to their core with the trade if they trade Dame. What do you First off, I'm gonna say, what do you guys think they will finish at in the West?
I mean, I'm thinking probably bottom five again. I think there's um too much power in the West for them, especially if they trade Dame to make any noise.
Yeah.
Uh, my ceiling is probably a play-in spot, like 9-10, and then floor would probably be bottom of the West.
Yeah, I'm right there with y'all. I mean, I don't think they're better. Like when you look at it, I don't think they're better than 10 other teams in the West. I think they're at the bottom of the league this season. And I also think like when it comes to Portland, like depending on like what they do with this Dame situation that we're about to talk about, is depending on like what happens with their future. I mean, but yeah, no, I think they're in the bottom of the West, and I also think they're not a competitive team. They're not going to compete much this season for anything, and I think they're about to start a rebuild. If anything, they have a lot of young players, a lot of young talent that they have coming in, and so maybe that can be them for in the next couple of years. But right now, there's nothing there of substance. So talking about Damian Lillard, what do you guys think? What do you think will happen with that whole situation?
I mean, I think he gets traded at the deadline. I don't think I think it's very clear he wants to go to Miami. I don't think the Trailblazers are in on that yet. But I think by the deadline, not having him play for most of the season, they'll just they'll give in and give him what he wants.
Yeah, I think it'll be similar like Ben Simmons in Philly. Like they just were waiting for the right offer and they're not gonna grant him what he wants. So like I think they'll hold out on trading until they get some sort of leverage and get an offer that they want. And so maybe he won't sit out, maybe he'll play for him, but I think he gets moved at the deadline, no earlier though.
Do y'all think he plays or no?
I don't think he's gonna play. I think the um I think the relationship has soured too much for him to actually want to put his body on the line for the team.
Yeah. Um, I think he starts and plays, but I think it could get to the point where they're just really bad and there's just no point in him and he might kind of just, voice his concerns and like demand out immediately. And I don't know. I think he'll start by playing, but depending on how they do, maybe like boost his trade value, if nothing else.
So when you look at this, like, do you think it's smarter for them to move him early just to just get it over with, or do you think what the front office of Portland right now is doing is completely fine?
I mean, I don't think as far as Portland's concerned, I don't think it'll matter when they move him. I think Dame would probably prefer to be moved earlier, but I think part of what Portland wants to do is they want to see what the team looks like before they actually make any moves. They want to see, I think they want to see what a Portland team without Damian Lillard is going to play like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Um, I think he can't like him saying like he wants the Heat, and like there's been so many social media stuff, like, and there's just like the Heat don't have stuff to give them that they want. They're not going to give up Tyler Hero because of their like, because Portland already has so many guards, and like, they don't really want kind of their rookies that are inexperienced. So like, then that's where like the stalemate comes in. It could get to the point where he's just like, yeah, I mean, I'll the Trailblazers are like, all right, we've tried to get you to Miami, we can't. So it's just going to be a business at this point. We're going to ship you to where you want to go, or with what teams want you. And I don't know like who's calling about him. If there's like four teams that are like on the like on deck to him, if Miami give him an offer, but yeah, I think they got to wait for a little bit to see how that plays out.
Yeah, so I think like when you look at this trade, it's like one of those things where I think Miami's probably the only team calling. I think there needs to be a third team that gets involved to take Tyler, because I mean, like you said, there's so many guards in Portland right now that there's just no fit for him. And so I think a third team gets involved. I think he goes to Miami. It's just now, personally, to me, it's just a matter of time. I mean, when you look at this team, the Portland Trailblazer team, you have Scoot Henderson, who they just signed with a pretty like first or second pick. I think second pick. I think they got him. Scoot Henderson. I mean, you got Anthony Simons, you got Grant, you got Matisse Thybulle, who I think is at one point in the league, he was one of the best defenders, top three defenders in the league. I mean, you got Shaden Sharp. I mean, you got a lot of guys who are young that can potentially take that next step next in that league next season. This is a very young team, guard wise. And I think it's just one of those things where they need to understand that and they need to cut dry. Like they need to just get it over with before it sours the team and before the entire team has a problem with the situation instead of just Dame. Um, and until they cut him, I think, or until they move on from him, I think it'll just be a question mark or a problem until that happens. And you hate to see it. I mean, you hate to see things like this. You hate to see players hold out because they want to get traded. But I think Dame he's given nothing but loyalty to this franchise. I mean, he's been there for 11 seasons. So it's like the Bradley Beal situation. I mean, Bradley Beal got $250 million last season from Washington, which he deserved. He's held out there for a long time, and then he got traded to a team promptly when he asked. And it's like, why can't he get the same treatment, in my opinion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But and so with that being said, like when do you guys think this team will okay, let's say Dame gets traded. Let's say they get some picks back in for him, nothing crazy. When do you guys think they will how long is this rebuild state they're gonna stay in this rebuild situation? When will they be competitive again?
I mean, knowing the Portland front office and how good the West is right now, it might be a long time, like 7 years before they're actually contenders.
Yeah, the West has just gotten so much better, and like it just kind of depends on how quick these young guys. If you do say Lillard gets traded, it kind of depends how these young guys perform. I kind of see them kind of like their roster would be constructed like of a bunch of young guys and then like two or three veterans. Like they have Nurkic and Grant, who's like close to 30 or something. It's sort of like, you know, best case scenario, they'll be like the 2019 Nets with D'Angelo Russell, who they were all super young except for a few people that kind of, knit them all together. They had Jared Dudley and Damari Carroll, um, and Joe Harris. So like, I don't know. They could kind of be like a one season wonder, just kind of come out of nowhere. But as we saw with the Nets, like after that, just wasn't anything until they signed their free agents. So like, and Portland is not a free agency destination.
No.
So it's going to be very difficult.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But any final thoughts when it comes to the Portland Trailblazers and what their future looks like?
I mean, they've got, I mean, a lot of young pieces that will be really exciting to watch develop, but it's not a team that's built for any playoff success in the near future.
Yeah. I think their draft picks they've kind of hit on, and so now it just kind of comes to executing how they play together. And so, but also like they gave Jeremy Grant that max deal, like 5 years, like I don't know, 170 million, 180 million. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they'll do with that. Kind of feel like it's going to be like a Tobias Harris situation down the road, possibly like Gordon Hayward, but he might give like 3 good years of production. And it might be dead money, but I don't know. They'll have to figure out how to utilize him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just if they can develop these young kids and that they can develop their talent to a if they can develop their talent and develop them as players, they'll be fine in 5 years. But until then, you have to just wait and see what free agents they get, how these players develop, and even if they get traded. I mean, you never know. But thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for listening. Trailblazers fans, let us know how you feel about us talking about your team and your thoughts on the Damian Lillard situation. Lillian, Emmett, thank y'all for joining. I've been your host, Davion, and this has been the post game. Peace.